Hey you, this is Jasim from CodeBan, and in this video I'm gonna be showing you how to host a Laravel application on Heroku. So if you are new to my channel, please do subscribe my channel and click the bell icon near to it. So without any further, let's jump right into it. Alright guys, so this is the application we are going to be hosting in our Heroku platform. This is a simple to-do application. As you can see here, you can just add a new to-do, update, delete, and read those to-dos right in here. So that's a very basic application, but we'll be using the database at the end, and we'll be following this guide to deploy our app into Heroku. Now this is a very useful guide. I'll put the link in the description so that you can follow along. So we'll start off with the first thing you have to keep in mind, that you have to install Git on your system. Now this is a good tutorial on installing Git on your system. It has tutorials on installing the Git on Mac and Windows and Linux. You can follow. If you're using Windows, you can follow this one. If you're using Mac, you can follow those, and you just have to install Git on your system at the end. So with that being said, now why you want to use Git is because Heroku at the end uses Git to transform our files from the local system into the Heroku cloud. So that's all about a Git system. Now after installing Git, now the next thing you have to do is, in the step one, they have told to create a new Laravel project. Now we have one in here, so that's fine. Now the second one is installing the Heroku CLI. Now this is the command line interface that Heroku provides us. So that's because if we want to interact to Heroku from our command line, we have to use this Heroku CLI. So you just have to download Heroku CLI from this link. Just click on that link, and there you'll find the appropriate versions for Mac or Windows or Ubuntu or Linux or all those stuffs there. So after installing the Heroku CLI, the next step you have to do is type in Heroku login. That is logging into your account. Now before moving into all those steps, the first thing you have to do is you should have a Heroku account. So just go to heroku.com and just sign up for an account, and that's totally free, no issues with that, and the entire hosting is completely free. So I'll not be showing you how to sign up to Heroku. That's very straightforward. Just give your details and that's it. Now with that being said, the next step, you have to log into the Heroku account. Just say in your terminal. So my server is running in this terminal, so I'll take new one and just say like Heroku login. Now this will logs you into the Heroku account. Now in order to use this Heroku command, you should have Heroku CLI installed on your system, and you might have to restart this PHP storm so that this works, because the terminal have to be reopened to get those paths up and running. So you just reopen in case your first time installing the Heroku CLI, and after that you just have to type in any key here, and it will automatically pops a browser for you so that you can log in there. And it gives me this browser. Just click on the login. Now if you have already logged in, then it will just say, it will not ask you for the credentials, otherwise it will ask you for the email and password. So just give that and it'll just log in, and we'll get that logged in as your email. So that's perfect. Now we'll move into the next step. Now the next step is to create a proc file. Now a proc file is nothing but a Heroku configuration file, which is used to specify where your application should start from. Like Heroku at the end uses Apache to serve alongside your application. So all you have to do is just create a proc file. Proc file in the sense is just a file. Just right click in here in your project root and just say new file. Now name that to be exactly like proc file, PROCFILE. So without any extension. That's important. You don't have any extension. So just say that, and you just copy paste this line of code there, just like that, and that's it. That is done. Now the next step you have to do is git init. Now initialize your the project as a Git repository. So just say git init. Now again, if you want to use Git, you have to install Git. So if you just install, then restart the PHP storm, otherwise this might not work for you. Just restart and do the same git init. Now it initialized a new Git repository. Now the next step we have to do is Heroku Crate. Now this is nothing but creating a Heroku application, or copying, just creating an instance of our entire application in the Heroku Cloud. So all you have to say is just Heroku Crate, and the argument you have to pass is the name of the application. Now our application is a to-do, so I'll just say Laravel to-do, for instance. Now this will be your subdomain, which means you'll get something like laravel-to-do.herokuapp.com at the end as your URL. So make sure you name this one accordingly. So I'll just stick with Laravel to-do and just click enter. Now it will create an application instance in the Laravel cloud for you. So it says Laravel to-do is already taken. So I'll just stick with Laravel to do, for instance. Just a funny name itself. Now yeah, that gives me that created that application. Now the next step, they are saying, if you just look into this one, this URL laravel-to-do.herokuapp.com, just click in there. Now it gives me Heroku, welcome to your new app, just a welcome page. Now we haven't pushed all these files into the Heroku Cloud. That we'll do in the next step. So just go in here. The next step is git add dot and commit, and just push those things. Now these are all Git stuff. Now if you are not very familiar with Git, then you might find this one just a little bit of difficulty. But this is very straightforward. Just add and commit and push all those files from your local system to the Heroku Cloud. So just type in as it is git add dot and git commit -m. I will just say message here, first commit, let me say, and just say git push Heroku master. Now this is pushing all those files from the local system to the Heroku master or the Heroku repository. So with that being said, it'll just it'll just take a little bit of time, so you have to be patient. And now that's done, it has deployed, or it has pushed all those contents to the Laravel cloud. Now if we look back into our application, if you just go to the URL there, you can see that there is a 500 server. Now there are a number of reasons why this happens, because you haven't set up a database, you haven't set an encryption key, and there are some other ones too. Now we'll do all those stuff at the next step. Now after this, they have said the same thing, exact thing, the 500 server. Now the next thing you have to do is add those configurations, just like the keys and all. So all you have to do is come back in here, get your .env file right in here, and in here you can see some configurations here. Just have to add some of them in the Laravel, in the Heroku platform. So what I'm gonna be doing is just say heroku.com in here, right in here. Just go to something like heroku.com, and it'll redirect to something like this page where you can find all of your applications. Now here you can find the application. If I refresh the page, you can find the our own created application, the Laravel to do, right in here. Just click on that, the Laravel to do, and in here in the settings, if we go to the settings, then in here this section reveal config vars, we have to set those environment variables right in there. So all I have to do is just copy this app key right there and just paste in there, and the value, you can of course do this one, but I will create a new encryption key so that it sort of give that identity, that privacy, because using this one again, will make, I believe it will make your code something as like public one. So you just create a new key, just like this one, PHP artisan key :generate, and the -- show the flag so that it shows on the terminal. Just copy this key, new key, and just paste it in here. And that's it. Just add those. And the next thing you have to do is just say app debug, this one, and just set that to true for now. Now this should be set to false, because in production, if there occurs some error, then it will show your entire application structure. So we're just doing this for displaying the error, what kind of error we are getting. So just stick with the true for now, and at the end we'll just make it to false. So With that being said, now if I refresh the page, I'll get the exact error. What is the error that we are facing? And yeah, it is saying the connection refused because we haven't set up a database. So this is because of this page shows because we have set that debug to true. Now if it is false or if this one is not set, then it'll just show you that 500 server error. Now with that being said, now we have to make use of our database. So we have to create a database right in the Heroku. So we'll be using a Postgres database, and that's fairly straightforward, the Heroku Postgres add-on. Now you can of course use the mysql. There is a ClearDB mysql add-on here. You can of course use that, but I'll stick with Postgres as it is very simple to start with. So just click on the add-on, find more add-ons button right in here. And in here you can find the Heroku Postgres here, this one. So you just take that Heroku Postgres and just say install Heroku Postgres, this button, and it will start to install that one. Now you have to say which application you have to do. Now this is our application Laravel to do that we have just created. So just click that and just say provision add-on, and it will give that database for us. Now if we go back into the settings again in the reveal config vars, there is a new variable set, that is the database URL. Now this is the URL that holds the credentials, the username and database name and all those stuff. So what we have to do is in our application we have to specify that. So back into our article, if we come back in here, just like that, and here this is the steps that we have just done. Now this is the next step that we have to done in the config database.php. So in the config folder, database.php, all I have to do is up at the top I have to parse that URL, the URL, this database URL. I have to parse that so that I get those informations, those username and database name and all those stuff. So I'll just copy that line of code and I'll just paste in here. So and I'll just change this one to single quotes for instance. And with that being said, the next step I have to do is just configure the PGSQL. Now PG stands for Postgres. I have to configure. I have that URL right here. I have parsed, so I'll have that name, database name and host and all those stuff in that variable as an array. So I have to just say in the PGSQL section right in here, I have to say like in here just like this one, change the host to from the default one. I have to change that to the $database URL of whatever we are getting from their host. So just like that you have to say for the port. So I'll just copy this line of code there and I'll just paste for the port, and I'll just change this one to the key to be port. Now in the database section I'll use the ltrim and just say ltrim, and in here again the database URL of path. So I'll say database URL of path and then the slash itself there. So that's that. Then next thing I have to do is the user. So I'll just copy and paste the username there just like that, and I'll change the host to be user, and the password again the same thing, just I'll say the pass. So that's all about the settings. Now that's totally fine. Now next thing you have to do is the set the default to Postgres. So in here you can see the default one. I'll just do this one to be the PGSQL stuff. I'll just say PGSQL, that's it. Now with that being said, now that's all done. Now I have to just say, I have made those changes, I have to add that, and I have to commit, and I'll just say message updated the database db configs, and you just have to push these changes into the Heroku cloud or the Heroku repository. So I'll just say git push Heroku master. Now with that being said, all our changes will be pushed into the Heroku repository. Now that's done. All I have to do is just refresh this page, and we'll still get the error, but the error will be different. that is undefined table, which means we haven't migrated our stuff. So we have those migration files in our the folders in the database migrations, but we haven't migrated those into the Postgres database in the Heroku. So all you have to do is just say Heroku run. Now this command will run the whatever we type it in after in the Heroku cloud. So I'll just say Heroku run PHP artisan migrate. Now this command will be run in the Heroku platform itself. So I'll just say enter, and this will do all of our migrations in the Postgres database and the server. So it'll take a little bit of time. And it says, the application in production, do you want to continue? I'll just say yes. And it migrated all those tables for me. So if I look back into the project again, now we'll get that project up and running. So that's all about this one. Now, if we try to create a new to-do, let me say hi and submit, then yeah, it gives me that hi there, hello, and that's two working. Now, if I can update here and I can delete one, and that's all working. Now it is perfectly working. Now if we want to change, suppose I'm gonna be changing the background color, this background beige to something like another color. So all I have to do is, if we try to run the local server again, PHP artisan serve, then we'll get the server will be running, but we'll get some undefined index. Now this is because we have set some variables here. Now this comes from the database URL from here. Now this only works if we are running the application in the server, because database URL, that variable is set only on the server. It is not set in our local system, local project. So all I have to do is just say in here I have to check if there is the database URL of host. If it is there, then I have to just say I'll use the ternary operator here. If the host is set, then only you can just use the host. Otherwise, just say a null here. And the same thing, I'll just copy and paste for the else part for this one as well. So if the database, the port, if it is set, then you just have to use that port. Otherwise, you have to just say null. Now again, the same thing. If the path, if it is set, then you can use that path. Otherwise, you just say null. And I'll do the thing for the rest of the things. I'll just copy and paste those things. And that's it. That's all about it. Now, if we try to restart the server again, now it doesn't show any errors, any undefined index and all those stuff. Now, make sure your exam is up and running. And if you try to look into this one in the URL, if you take in the URL, we get that same exact stuff. That's totally working. Now, all I have to do is just change the color. So I'll just in the public, in the assets, in the style.css, all I have to do is change this color. Let me make light blue, for instance. Now if I save this one, it changes to light blue. Now in order to get this this change into the server, all I have to do is just say git add dot and git commit -m. I'll just say a message changed bg color, for instance, and just say git push Heroku master. Now these all are git stuffs, and it will just do those changes to the server side. It'll push those changes to the server. So with that being said, now everything is perfect. Now if we look back into our application, our Heroku app, this one, it's done. Now if I refresh the page, and we'll get that light blue color as a background. So that's it. Now we go with that. Now the thing you might have noticed is that if you try to serve our application via HTTPS, then it will not load the styles for us. It will not show that background color. Now that's because if we try to inspect the error by right clicking and getting the inspect, then here in the error section you can get that error. the CSS was the request has been blocked, the content must be served, or HTTPS. Now our application tries to load the CSS with HTTP, but our URL is serving our HTTPS, so that there is a slight mismatch over that. So that's because it's not loading the content. Now the application works totally fine with HTTP, as we have already seen. It will just work fine with HTTP, and this is possibly enough for our testing our application. Now I'll not be showing you the fix for using that HTTPS, but it's fairly very simple, but I will do it in a separate video. So that's all about the hosting. Now if you have any doubts or if you fell into some errors, please let me know in the comment section. Otherwise, if you like the video, please do hit the thumbs up button. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.